Class is now in session. Today's topic, we are going to discuss betting on the Heisman. And let's start with a pop quiz, shall we? True or false? Betting on the favorite to win the Heisman is a good approach. Who would like to field this one in the class here? Ms. Hawksworth.
Yes. I think it's a great idea because right now you can get like 5-1 on the favorite. It seems like it's always these big names and top schools who we expect to win it all. So I think it's a great idea.
Ms. Hawksworth, you are sadly mistaken. Betting on the favorite is not a profitable venture. Last year, when Caleb Williams won it, his odds were third shortest, which is actually chalky when it comes to context for this honor. Since 2009, only one favorite has gone on to finish first, and that was Oregon's Marcus Mariota in 2014.
Oh.
His odds were plus 425. In fact, on more occasions, the Heisman winner wasn't even on the board to start the season than was the betting favorite. It's also worth noting, since 2009, more often a favorite didn't even finish in the top three in voting, then finished first. And so betting on Caleb Williams as a sizable favorite at 5-1 per BetMGM is not a profitable venture. It doesn't tend to work out. So, second question for the class. The team the Heisman contender plays for must be in playoff contention. Even though Williams and his USC Trojans didn't actually make the playoff, had they won the Pac-12 championship game, they would have been in the playoff. So they were mighty close to that. And since the college football playoff began, 18 of the last 27 players who finished in the top three each season, they made the Final Four. Nearly all of the 9 who didn't at least came close and almost won their conference. So team success does have a good bit of correlation. We talked before about the importance of the quarterback position to overall team success. Well, that's something that voters really believe. They embrace that concept, and because a lot of quarterbacks or a lot of Heisman winners are quarterbacks, that happens to work out. It's interesting this year because while some quarterback races are unofficially over, very few have officially been decided and named. And so those quarterback competitions make this approach interesting and unusual this year. But two guys I like when it comes to teams that will very much be in playoff contention and looking at the respective quarterbacks, Michigan's J.J. McCarthy is someone who's getting a lot of attention, and rightfully so, and Clemson's Cade Klubnik. New offensive coordinator Garrett Riley for the Tigers. Clemson certainly has a lot of success. They could very well win the ACC, and if they do and make the playoff, then Klubnik's going to get a lot of Heisman consideration. Okay, one more question for the class here. Having consistency in your program with the same coaching staff will help you here. Who would like to take this one? Consistency with the coaching staff helps out a lot here. Okay, Ms. Hawksworth.
I think it helps, but Professor Egros, it's not a necessity as we saw last year. Caleb Williams won it, and Lincoln Riley was new at USC. So I'm going to say no.
You are correct. The idea here involves finding outliers because you're trying to find the absolute best player in college football. You're not necessarily looking for trends, you're looking for outliers. So you're absolutely right here. Picking the Heisman has more to do with looking for outliers. And it's not just established upperclassmen who have heard the same voices and who have looked at the same playbook year after year after year. Not necessarily going after those guys, even though they may play very well. This isn't like a legacy honor. This is someone who can put together an elite year, and that is who wins the Heisman. And look, while upperclassmen tend to perform a little bit better and having consistency in the coaching staffs, that helps. Defenses can catch up. Variance may not be in a quarterback's favor. There may be more drop passes. You may have all sorts of random things. The injury bug may be a bit of a concern. So you need a lot of things to go right for you, including luck, but then you also need sort of this idea of catching lightning in a bottle, so to speak. That's one of the things you're looking for as far as finding a Heisman contender. Because there will be a lot of new faces leading highly touted programs, also being led by offensive coordinators in their first year at their respective position, two guys who I like, who fit this description. Carson Beck out of Georgia with new OC, familiar face of the Bulldogs, Mike Bobo. He is back with the program, and so Carson Beck makes a lot of sense. But also Ohio State's Kyle McCord with recently promoted OC Brian Hartline. That's also a working relationship that may work out, and certainly someone who, hey, look, if Ohio State makes a run, makes the college football playoff, it'll be because Kyle McCord played well, and he probably will deserve some Heisman consideration. So to review the three ideas here, you don't want to bet on the favorite. You want to look for teams in contention for the playoff, and you want to look for outliers like new offensive coordinators, maybe even new head coaches, and also players who may be bursting onto the scene. Maybe people don't know about them, and the voters like a little bit of a surprise, and that could put them very well over the top. So those are the three big lessons as far as betting for the Heisman.
The Eagles have been giving away signs throughout training camp that Kenneth Gainwell, might be their number one guy. It doesn't look like that if you just look at the ESPN depth chart, but the fact that he hasn't been playing much, what some of these insiders have been seeing during 11-on-11s, he's been playing on the first team. Paul put the number in there, and I thought it was wrong. I was so shocked you could get him 200-1 to be the rushing leader in the NFC East. If he does end up being the guy, or maybe he's not, but injuries, you just never know. 200-1? What are we even doing? I think that's incredible value, because you also have to consider, okay, you've got Jalen Hurts, right? But do they want him running the ball? Are they going to start to focus on another aspect of his game in terms of passing and maybe try to prevent injury in terms of Jalen Hurts, running the ball all the time? I think they might try to scale it back. You've got some good running backs on that team, and I think Kenneth Gainwell is a very good look at 200-1.
I completely agree. I think one of the misnomers when it comes to evaluating the Eagles offense is that they have so many different running backs in that backfield that they are willing to do it by committee. And then you have Jalen Hurts, who runs very well out of the spread and, does a lot of quarterback sneaks, things like that. Well, look at who finished where in terms of rushing yards from a season ago. Miles Sanders finished fifth. So even though, the Eagles do have many backs and they will get some totes, sometimes they will ultimately pick one guy to be sort of that bell cow running back. And especially when it comes to that division where it is possible the Eagles run away with it. I'm not sure, because the Cowboys will be really good. But if Gainwell is number one, he may be getting a lot of carries.